everybody, in this video we're going to be taking a look at my 2000 point Skaven list. This is an army that I had from back in 8th edition. Now, to my shame, it's sat in grey plastic since about 2010, and last year when I was getting into 6th edition I pulled it out of the cupboard and I just couldn't bring myself to paint it. I couldn't find a scheme I liked, and it kind of just I kept delaying and delaying until eventually I said, right, that's it. Bought a load of speed paints and got to work. It actually took me 3 evenings, and well, they were long evenings, but I got the army painted to a playable standard. The bad side of that is it's not my favourite army to look at, but on the bright side, it's a painted army, and really that's better than it being in grey plastic. Taking a look at the list, most of this stuff, bar the slaves, the rat swarms, and the Jezzails, was stuff that I already had. Oh, and the plague priest. I added those units just to bring the army up to 2k, and in the future I'm looking to change this to make it a bit more fluffy. I think at the minute it's a little bit strong, so I'm thinking of going down a clan molder, maybe putting a load of rat ogres in it or doing something cool like that. I think the Skaven have got some great theming, and if you guys have any armies that you think work really well, and again, I'm not looking for the strongest army, I'm looking for something that's fun to play and has got really strong theming. But this is a great starting list if anyone's looking to get into Skaven. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it, but I'll go through what I've took and why I took it. So starting off the list with my Lord is a Grey Seer on foot. 235 points, which is a big investment, but he's a level 4 wizard, and the Skaven magic is really good. I chose not to take him on a Screaming Bell. Give me a bit of flexibility, and I'll talk about one of my Warlock Engineers later, which is a bit of a play that I can use with him. But allowing him to sort of skitter leap out of a unit and get out the way has usually really helped with my survivability. The spells I'm really looking out for with this character is Warp Lightning, Plague, and Pestilence Breath. They're the 3 that I found have been really killer for this list. That's not to say the others aren't good, but those 3 just can be powerhouses. You get 4 Warpstone tokens with this guy, so you actually coming up against another magic heavy list, you can really push them over the top. Naturally, you've got the risk of taking a lot of wounds and miscasting, but it allows you just to get that extra boost of power. For war gear, he's got a Warpstone Charm, so I can reroll 1 miscast in the game. This is kind of, I think, a must. With the amount of spell power you need with this guy, the last thing you need is turn 1 and rolling a miscast and dying. It can really flip the game. Next, I've got the Eye of the Horned Rat. Lets you add an extra power dice. Obviously, if you roll a 1, then a dice is removed. That's very Skaven-y, but I found that, generally speaking, it's just great fun. If you lose the dice, who cares? Then I've took a Tenebrous Cloak. That's a 3-up ward against normal and magic missiles. This is really used for a play that I've got later where you skitter leap this guy out of the unit, but it's also very useful, allows you to be a bit more uncaring with when you throw him out of the unit to get him out of dodge before you charge your Clanrats in. Start of the game, he's going to live in a unit of Clanrats and looking to cast that Warp Lightning or Plague or whatever else it may be early on. The main thing that tends to kill him is himself, either through the Warp Lightning or through the Warpstone tokens and rolling miscasts, but overall, usually a very strong character. I have tried him on a Screaming Bell. I don't really like how that just sort of sticks him in a unit. I've never really got the value out of the Screaming Bell, but I'd be really interested to see if you've had a lot of success with that. Next, we're going to go on to my Plague Priest. Now, he is a bit of a beat stick. I like taking a unit of 20 Plague Monks, mainly because I've got them, but what I found is when they come into hard targets, they can really struggle. So I take the Plague Priest. So he's Weapon Skill 5, Strength 4. He has 5 attacks because he's got Frenzy and an extra hand weapon. I like to give him the Bands of Power. This is a bound spell, power level 4, and it doubles his strength. So he goes up to Strength 8, which can be really, really good. And also, because you're throwing so much other magic out, it's very rare that somebody will want to throw Dispel Dice at your Bands of Power. The key is just knowing when to cast it in the casting sequence, whether you want this off or, say, early on, you might want to just chuck this out to try and bait some power dice, some Dispel Dice, sorry. But generally speaking, it tends to go off. I've also given him the Warpstone Amulet, which is a 4-up ward. He's very lacking in his defenses, but a 4-up ward save can really make him strong, especially when you get into challenges and things like that. The downside with that is if you roll a 1 at the end of the game, he doesn't give you any victory points, but given he's such a low cost character, I think that's worth it. Power of the list is the 2 Warlock Engineers. Now, we've given them both Warp Blades, Warp Energy Condensers, and Supercharged Warp Power Accumulators, so they're casting Warp Lightning every turn. Now, the thing you've got to remember is if you're throwing 2 dice at this every turn and you're getting it off, more than likely these guys are taking wounds by turn 2 and 3, so don't expect them to hang around for the whole game. Also, with one of them throwing out the Storm Demon at the same time, you're more than likely going to be wounding yourself every now and again. The thing that I tend to always forget to do is use the Warpstone tokens on these. So you want to make sure early and often you're using those Warpstone tokens, and that's to feed your Grey Seer with more power dice as and when you can use them. As I said, we've got a Storm Demon on 1, which allows you to cast the lower level of Warp Lightning as a bounce spell, which can catch some people off guard. The other one has got Death Globes, which is effectively an 8-inch placeable stone thrower. The play with this is that you have him in the unit next to the Grey Seer, and then you cast Skitter Leap and throw the Grey Seer and this guy behind an enemy's big unit. The Grey Seer throws a Pestilence Breath out, this guy throws the Death Globes, and then also casts Warp Lightning. Again, it can be really strong if you catch someone off guard, and you can keep doing it if you position yourself well. Moving on to core, I'm actually going to start off with our cheapest units. At 40 points, I've got 2 units of 20 slaves. Now, these guys are really there to just draw enemy out. They can take fanatics to the face. You can position them in such ways that if they get charged, you pull enemy units, off course, or baiting out frenzy units. They're more than likely going to run away, but they're expendable, so nobody cares. They're good to get in the way, and also to just sort of eat some enemy spellcasting, whether that be you're using them to block out your better units. The thing that I tend to have to watch out with these guys is sometimes I put them in the way, and then they're blocking my lanes for either charging or magic or other things like that. But for 40 points, you won't find much better value than Clanrat slaves. New addition to this list, I took some rat swarms. This was just something I was trying out. They're skirmishers, they're expendable, and they're swarms, so they're unbreakable is the key. 5 attacks, strength 2. They're not going to be doing loads of work, but if you chuck them into a unit that isn't going to hit hard back, they could sit and hold them for multiple turns. They can tie up a very expensive unit, and given that they're only 45 points a base, can be great. Now, there is a question to be said, do you upgrade them to the Plague Rat so that they get poison attacks? Now, that's something that I have considered, but in this list, I didn't have the points. Okay, the bulk of the army, the Clanrats. So this is 3 units of 24 Clanrats. We're going 4 wide on these units to really maximise that rank bonus. 2 of the units have got Ratling Guns and one's got a Warpfire Thrower. All the units have got full command. One thing that I've found since playing Skaven is I always treated these as expendable units, similar to my slaves, but actually these guys can hit pretty hard. 3 rank span outnumber, 5 static combat res, but they're leadership 8 with their rank bonus. So as long as you're not getting charged in the flank, these guys can usually hold out for a few turns. Add to that, you can shoot into combat is another tactic you can use, especially if your opponents are much higher point cost than you. And at 5 points a model, they're still a bargain for what they are. The Ratling Guns you can get greedy with, but I think for me, Skaven should be fun to play. Skaven should be swingy, and you should likely kill yourself just as often as you kill the enemy. And for me, the Ratling Guns are sort of the quintessential of that. The Warpfire Thrower, I'm still getting used to. I haven't actually used it to its full effect, but Strength 5 D3 damage -2 is great for sort of heavy infantry. Once I learn how to use it properly, I'm sure it'd be very good. Moving on to the special choice, we've got the unit of 20 Plague Monks. These guys are toughness 4, which really helps them, but again, no armor, so they're going to get absolutely rinsed if they're shot at. They are frenzied, so they're going to end up with 3 attacks each, 4 for the Deacon. So they're throwing a lot of dice on the table when you're throwing them into a unit. If you can get Death Frenzy on them as well, that's another attack that you can chuck into there. You can chuck the Plague Priest in there to make them really hard hitting. If you can get the charge off with these, they can be really hard hitting and even take out big blocks of infantry. Next, we've got 7 Jezzails. I wasn't expecting a lot from these, and I don't know why. I think, given they're only Blisssteel 3, I thought they were just going to be missing all the time regardless, but they've been really effective, Short range at 18 inches is really strong. So most of the time they're actually hitting on 4s, strength 6 and armor piercing. If nothing else, it makes your opponents think about what they're doing. So putting these down on the field, they can draw a lot of attention. And I've also had them popping cavalry, taking out heavy infantry. And if all they need to do is kill 1 or 2 of the knights to really take the punch out of a unit. A little bit of a fun unit, but I think it's got a bigger psychological impact than it does an actual impact on the game. But a unit of 5 gutter runners who are a tunneling team. Now, I chuck these guys in the backfield, and just having that token on the field can often give people a real sort of worry, especially if they've got artillery, they've got infantry, things like that. Having a unit that's going to pop up in their back lines can be almost the psychological effect can be bigger than the actual impact on the game. But it's something I've tried out in the last game and it worked really well, taking out a load of dwarven artillery. But going forward, I may drop these in favour just to put some points elsewhere. Finally, in the rare slot, something that I take mainly because I have the model and I like it. It's never done anything in a game useful, but I can just see now already that I'm going to have one game where this just goes off. So it's a Warp Lightning Cannon, 100 points, 8d6 range, artillery dice strength, d6 damage. I think given that you can run this thing up the field and fire across through terrain, through things, it just adds a lot of fun to the list. Again, it's never done anything in any game that I've played with it, but I know that it's going to come up. So the general tactics for this list is you chuck a spellcaster in each of the units of Clanrats and the priest in with the plague monks. The slaves go in front and try and pull units off centre so your Clanrats can get a flank charge. If your opponent's playing coy, you just shoot them up with Warpfire Throwers and Ratling Guns and cast magic at them. Your Jezzails shooting at them every turn. Warp Lightning Cannon tries to get some value where it can, especially if an opponent takes some big stuff like giants, etc. And overall, you try not to kill yourself before you can kill the enemy. They are a blast to play, as long as you don't care about when your stuff shoots itself or you die yourself. If you want to take yourself too seriously, Skaven's not the list. But if you want to just go with the highs and lows, Skaven are great. Generally, the games where I've been miscasting and shooting myself and blowing up have actually ended up more fun than the games where they've just gone off doing loads of damage, not miscasting, just hitting the enemy. You've got to have a good sense of humour to play Skaven, similar to sort of orcs and goblins, I would say. But when they do go off, they can be really strong. Again, if you have a cool idea for a list, I want to move this into a more sort of fluffy list. Again, maybe a sort of Clan Moulder list, even Clan Pestilence. I want my Skaven to have a really fun feel. So let me know what you think. Chuck some comments down there. If you want to try the list out, please do. And let me know how you get on. If you want to check out a game where I use this list or very close to this list, I'll link it down in the comments. And I look forward to playing some more Skaven in the future. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more Warhammer 6th edition content.